Attack for game. GG.
GG.
Roaring Moon is so sick, dude.
Oh, it's so bright in here. Oh. Thoughts better.
The photographs your boyfriend took. Remember when you broke your foot from jumping out the second floor? I'm not okay. I'm not okay.
Hello everybody, welcome back to The Lost Mine. Back here again with another post-rotation deck profile. Today is going to be the single prize Roaring Moon. I don't know if I want to call it Ancient Box or whatever you want to say, but it's this single prize Roaring Moon here is a new card from Temporal Forces, and it's got this lovely attack, Vengeful Feathers. That's 2 dark, 70 plus 10 for each ancient card in your discard pile. So this, understandably, can ramp quite quickly. We've seen effects similar to this, like Vespiquen in the past, Flareon, that do 20 base plus 10 for each Pokemon in the discard pile. But having an ancient card that can be, in this deck, tools, items, supporters, is going to be a bit more forgiving in the deck building process because we're not going to be having to fill our deck with like 30 Pokemon. So we're starting it off. We're playing 4 of the Ancient Roaring Moon here. Like I said, 2 energy for that lovely first attack. We do have 4 energy Speedwing for 120, but I'd say Vengeful Feathers most of the time is going to be a significantly more efficient attack. And then don't forget, or don't knock, 140 hit points with the booster capsule, 200 on this guy. With Grass Weakness, not a super relevant one. It's going to be quite tanky for a one-prizer. So the idea of this deck is we're going to fill our discard pile with ancient cards, which we're playing a lot of, and we're going to swing with a bulky single prizer. And we do have some other tricks, like the big Roaring Moon that can take auto KOs. But starting off with 4. Next up, this is probably the most unfortunate part of the deck, playing 4 copies of this new Flutter Mane card here. This is mostly just because there's not a better ancient card to play at this point. I think this deck will get significantly stronger with the next set bringing more ancient cards. But Flutter Mane here has Witching Hour Flutter, its ability. As long as it's in the active spot, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities except for Witching Hour Flutter. So this is not quite Wobbuffet. It can turn things off, like maybe Chien-Pao's ability if they've got like a Miraidon on the active, maybe if they can't retreat to use Charizard can make people's lives harder. But for the most part, this is just going to be hitting the discard pile, kind of like a Lampent effect, like in Night March or something. But Flying Curse is also not a terrible attack. We do 90 damage and put 2 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon any way you like. And we do only have 1 retreat, so if we start it, it's not a huge deal. But again, this is mostly just going to be hitting the discard pile, just as another ancient tag here. But not a terrible card on its own. Hopefully able to replace it next set, though. Next up, we've got 2 copies of Roaring Moon EX. This has been an extremely powerful card thus far in Standard before we get Temporal Forces with the Frenzied Gouging and Calamity Storm. Able to take an auto knockout with the first attack and then hit 220 for 3 if there's a stadium involved. We do play 4 stadiums, so that can come up quite frequently. We do play Sawdust and Dark Patches to power up our Moons, and then the Moon EXs, but this can kind of carry you early game when you don't have quite as many Ancients in the discard pile, and then later game, once you're ready to attack with the Baby Moon, you can start using that instead once you've got your damage scaled. So we've got the 2 copies of Roaring Moon EX. It's really just going to help bridge the gap between the awkward early game of Roaring Moon, not doing much damage, and the late game of super powerful attacks on a one-prizer. Then next up, we're playing 2 Brute Bonnet. Again, this is mostly just going to be hitting the discard pile. We just need more physical ancient cards in our deck, but it does have Toxic Powder. If it has a booster capsule attached, you can leave both actives poisoned. So if you think about it, like the Brute Bonnet plus the capsule in the discard is plus 20. This is only plus 10, maybe plus 20 going back into your turn. But I guess the Rampaging Hammer does 120 for 3 and you can't attack the next turn. So decent attack, decent bulk, but most of the time this is also just going to be hitting the discard pile. 3 retreat is pretty chunky to think about as well. Then we're playing 1 Radiant Greninja, the only other Pokemon in the deck. Radiant Greninja is just going to really help with the concealed cards with consistency, getting energy in the discard pile for Dark Patch and Sawda. It's just kind of a necessary card to be playing here. It doesn't have an Ancient tag, which kind of sucks. Might be considered worth considering Squawkabilly in this deck as well, because you want to get things in the discard pile. But for now, the Radiant Greninja is the only other Pokemon in the deck. So for supporters, we're kind of pigeonholed into playing Ancient once again. We are playing 4 copies of Professor Sawda's Vitality. We've seen this many times in Roaring Moon decks since Paradox Rift came out. Just able to choose 2 of your Ancient Pokemon, attach a basic energy to each of them, and then draw 3. And then it does have the Ancient tag, of course, for our Roaring Moon here. We're playing 4 Explorer's Guidance. This is a new card from Temporal Forces. It's an ancient supporter, so able to count towards our Roaring Moon. It looks at the top 6 of your deck, put 2 in your hand, and discard the rest. So obvious synergy here with the rest of the deck. Able to look at top 6, pretty deep dig, and then discard quite a bit of cards to ramp your damage. This could be a draw 2 plus 40 damage a lot of the time if you're able to hit 6 ancient cards. And then only other supporters in the deck. It's really hard to fit conventional cards in here because we're wanting as many ancient tags as possible, but we are playing 2 copies of Boss's Orders. Definitely still need the Gust effect in here. It's just awkward. If this had a Ancient Tag, it'd be fantastic to play 4 of it, but it's hard to justify playing more when it's not counting towards the point of your deck. The 2 boss obviously still need Gust effects. Can't play the Prime Catcher because our A spec is taken by our other one, which you'll see in a second. But for Ultra Ball, for Nest Ball, we need consistency obviously still. Ultra Ball is really going to pull weight in this deck for sure, being able to discard ancient cards in addition to our other effects. Going to ramp your damage up quite a bit. Obviously need it to search your cards out as well. And then for Nest Ball, it might be worth considering cutting these for like more ancient Pokemon, just to ramp your effect up. I think with the amount of ancient cards we have in this deck, we're capping at 360 minus having at least 1 Roaring Moon in play, so 350 on a 1-prizer, which is huge. But playing less physical copies, like I said, is always going to be nerfing your output, so having more actual ancient cards might be the play, but for now we're playing 8 balls. And then for Earthen Vessel, this is not only a fantastic consistency card, but also has the Ancient Tag, able to discard a card and get 2 energy. Going to help get our Darks, going to be able to help us with concealed cards, help us bin other ancient cards. This is just going to be a fantastic consistency card in the deck. For Dark Patch, might be worth considering playing less of these because our attack only takes 2, but I am leaning into the Roaring Moon EX quite a bit in this list to kind of help you bridge the gap early game, like I said before. So the Dark Patch is really going to help us power up the Roaring Moon early game, and then it's just going to help us chain these single prize ones throughout the game because we don't have to play Sod every turn. We can play Explore or Boss in the turn we play those. And we do have 2 copies of Switch Cart. It might be worth playing 3 of these because we do have a couple chunky things if we start them. But for now, it's felt fine with just the 2. You're able to dig for them. If you start Flutter Mane or Greninja, you can just attach Retreat. You can attack with these other Pokemon as well pretty easily with the combination of Sod and Dark Patch. But the 2 Switch Cart, definitely want to have some Switch cards in here. It might be worth playing more. 1 Super Rod, kind of counterintuitive with the deck to be shuffling back your Pokemon because you want them in discard pile for damage. But you do need to attack with Moon sometimes more than a couple times because you're already binning them, so able to retrieve them, being able to retrieve them is really important, so you can kind of chain the attacks while also bolstering your damage output while discarding the Roaring Moons. Then our A spec, we're playing one that's not Prime Catcher. Didn't think that was going to happen, but we got Awakening Drum, really powerful card here. It's an ancient A spec, so it counts toward our damage. You just draw a card for each of your ancient Pokemon in play. So this can be drawing up to 6 cards in an item, which is really good if you're filling your bench. Even if this is drawing 2, 3, 4 cards, like an item that said draw 2 cards would be busted. So it is your A-Spec slot, but it's a really, really good use of your A-Spec slot. It sucks not playing Prime Catcher, but we need the Ancient Tag, so it really makes sense to play this. Might end up Prime Catcher just being better, but I think an item that says, like, usually draw 4 or 5, you don't usually have a lot of Ancient Pokemon in play because they need to be in discard, but I'd say this is probably drawing at least 3 cards every time you play it, unless you're, like, playing it turn 1 to, like, dig because you don't have anything, but... Last ancient cards are 4 copies of Ancient Booster Energy Capsule, giving any of our ancient Pokemon plus 60, and they can't be affected by special conditions, so this could come up with Toxic Powder. You can't poison yourself if you have a booster capsule on, but mostly just plus 60. Having a 290 HP Roaring Moon or a 200 HP basic Roaring Moon, or Baby Roaring Moon, is huge. A lot of bulk to be putting your opponent through, especially with the high damage output of the deck. We are trying 4 copies of Pokestop right now. This has a lot of synergy with the attack of Baby Roaring Moon, and then just kind of helping our deck roll. We don't play a lot of items. We're only playing 20 items, so a third of the deck, but we don't really mind anything hitting the discard because it just needs to be there for our damage output. And then hitting energies is not bad because it enables your Dark Patch and Sada, and then obviously hitting items is fine. Only things you're really mad about milling would be like, I don't even know, like your bosses. That would be the worst mill. And then to round it out, we do have 4, 8, 9 Dark Energy. It might be worth playing 1 less because we are attacking with 2 energy a lot of the time, but enabling the turn 1 or turn 2 Roaring Moon EX attack is a lot easier with the extra energy, but it might be worth just playing like a 3rd boss or another switch card or something like that over the 9th energy because we do have the 4 Vessel as well. But this deck has felt pretty powerful so far. It's a really strong single prize deck. Like, you're already hitting 70 base, so you're killing things like Comfey. Sableye is weak to dark, so Sableye, you're killing basics like Charmander, Pidgey, any evolving basic really right off the bat for just 2 energy. And you scale really quickly. Even like 2-shotting things with this is huge because a lot of decks are going to be 2-shotting this back because 200 on a 1-prizer is a lot of hit points. Even 140 is. Yeah, this has been the Roaring Moon basic baby Roaring Moon deck, whatever you want to call it. Ancient Box, there's a whole bunch of different names you could say, but this deck has been feeling very good. Hope you want to try it out. We're going to have gameplay with it soon. Hope you enjoyed. This has been The Lost Mine. Landen, take care. Bye.